Here we go. All right, guys. It looks like we are live. Field of the Deal podcast. We're back post Super Bowl. How we feeling, guys? The season, Scott. Is this one that Scott, former GMs, like? Is this one the season like now? Like this is your in season now. It's off season.
It is my in season. Yes, it's because of free agency and the draft. And from a personnel standpoint, that's the most important thing. From my looking in, and you can really build your roster through it.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody has opinion on every player, whatever, but you can start doing stuff and identifying needs at position and free agency, which I think you supplement with free agency, you build with the draft, that you can make your team better, and that's all you want to do. That's all you want to do. And, it's like I said, everybody, has their own philosophies about we're going to approach it through the draft. We're going to approach it through free agency, one or the other. And it's a good time of the year now for coaches. They're off for a little while, which is good. But from a personnel standpoint, you're ramping up bigger in life.
It's interesting, though, when we first started, Super Bowl was in January. Now it's middle of February. And, we're heading to Indianapolis in a week from Monday and the combine. So our calendar has totally changed. It used to be whatever. Now we just grinding. And, the Monday after the draft is Christmas and the Tuesday's New Year's. And because there are no off days. Speaking of which, Rob, did you get arrested or something? Looks like you're in a prison cell there.
No, I'm in the office, so it is like a prison. Yeah, no, it's I should have called. You should have been my first call when I got in here. Been like, hey, Peter, looks like a prison cell.
But there really, to Scott's point, there really aren't no off days. Most teams right now are in draft meetings. We're having conversations. We've got players training for the combine, and then pro days, and then you're right back in it. And one GM texted me about 10 minutes after the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and he said, well, everybody's 0-0 right now.
No, I was curious as an agent now. This has got to be your prime time, too, because you've got your guys signed or getting them signed, and then now you're looking to go, what are the needs of the teams now as free agency 2025 hits?
Well, right. And there's no doubt. Everybody's lining up prospects, and just because your guy might be the third or fourth guy in the pecking order, if there's 6 receivers out there and there are 8 teams, you're going to be fine. If there's 6 receivers out there and you got a receiver, but there's 4 teams, you're scrambling.
Absolutely. Speaking of receivers and the Denver Broncos specifically, the what I'm interested in hearing is like the T. Higgins and Chris Godwin rumors of coming to Denver. Obviously, one or the other, and there's of the need in the wide receiver room. Scott, if you're looking at the wide receiver room of what the Denver Broncos, like how big of a need is it for us to go make a splash in free agency for a wide receiver with the Denver Broncos?
Well, the thing about it, and Peter can talk about it too, it depends on the value. It depends on what you got to end up paying. The thing that's really good about Denver right now is the fact they've got a quarterback that can throw the ball. So a receiver outside looking in is going to be like, okay, I can have production. I'm number one, wide receiver number one. I can go there and maybe have a Pro Bowl year. But I think, especially with Higgins, it's going to be a lot of money. And
they're saying about $30 million. Does that sound about right, Peter? $30 million.
That's what he's asking for, right? So if you trade for him, chances are you're going to have to meet somewhere near his demand. And so it's not just at that point the $30 million, but the Bengals. What the Bengals are going to do, they're going to franchise him. Okay. I think that's $24 million or something. And then he's either playing for 24 or they're going to trade him and get a 1 or a 2+ or whatever they're going to try to get. And they're not giving him up for free. Mike Brown does not give up anything for free.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about it, Rob, is too, and it's been this way the last 5 years, and Peter's well aware of it, there's a lot of receivers in this draft. Young guys that are cheap, that can play.
Mm-hmm.
And in free agency, I know from a personnel standpoint, Peter won't agree with this. You always overpay in free agency. Always. I mean, for a good player. I mean, you're going over the top. so that affects your salary caps. That affects what you can do at other positions. And how many times does a receiver touch a ball during a game compared to an offensive lineman blocking every play, a defensive lineman rushing every play, playing the run every play? So the bang for the buck is totally different. Now, I like good receivers. I've been around good receivers, but still, with the draft loaded as it is last 5 years, I mean, it's a passing system coming out of college, the spread. And, and guys have a lot of production, a lot of receptions, a lot of run after catch, a lot of touchdowns and all that good stuff. Is it worthy to pay a guy $30 million or draft one in the third, draft one in the fifth that will cost you less than that combined for both of them?
Well, and plus you don't have to give up the draft capital too. So
Correct.
that's what makes that a little harder.
Correct.
Yeah.
Is the draft capital. So T. Higgins is not just $30 million a year, $60 million guaranteed, 5 years, 150. You're going to have to give up something to get him. And if you really want him, let's just wait till next year because they're not franchising him twice or 3 times.
And then figure out where you're at with the Cortland
Now,
Sutton.
Godwin, though, I know Tampa really likes Godwin. I would be very surprised to see if Tampa would be trading Godwin. I don't see that one.
They're not going to trade
Mr. Casey Rogers, welcome to the program.
New York Giants.
Yes, sir.
Casey,
How you doing?
Casey, I've got Colgate, Albany, Quinnipiac, UMass on ESPN Plus right now.
What we looking like? Is there any good games?
Colgate's blowing out Albany. We're talking lacrosse here, Scott.
Really?
Talk about like a turned quick, conversation. We're talking about free agent wide receivers and what the Broncos can do, Casey. Whether it's, trading for T. Higgins or something with Chris Godwin, boosting the wide receiver room.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I want
as a
to
player
ask
right now,
Rob, before we go there, so Scott was just talking, Casey, about, the impact of a receiver. And you guys had the impact rookie receiver this year with the Giants.
Yeah.
And you being a rookie, you're in the same class. When did you notice that this guy was different?
Well, obviously he comes in with a lot of hype around his name. First round draft pick. Not a lot of first round draft picks won't have that hype, but around first or second OTA when he's running routes against our 1 and 2 DBs and he's looking like he's done it for 10 years and he's been in the league for 10 years. He's one of those guys where he just moves, like flows like water. You know what I mean? Like everything he does just looks natural. But yeah, no, you see exactly what a dynamic receiver can do is, if our offense was a little bit more, not necessarily put together, but if we were able to function a little bit better, I think this season, like his game's only going to improve and it's only going to go up. So,
but what are the things, Casey, that you saw? And I'm going to ask Scott what you
just just athletic ability to go up and get the ball. Like there's like the 50-50 ball with him turns into like an 80-20 ball. Like he's grabbing everything. He's putting his body in a position. He's like a contortionist. He puts his body in a position that it doesn't even look natural, but he can get his hands, get his hips turned to get his hands on a ball, which most people won't even be able to turn around and look at. It's just little things like that, and like natural route running. He's right where the quarterback wants him to be, and he's a responsible route runner as well. He's not doing his own thing, and it shows when he gets the ball. And it's not just catching the ball either. It's getting the ball and getting yards after catch, and making big time plays, which is what he did.
And Scott, do you see that? Is that what you're looking for in tape?
Yeah, the thing about it is with him is the fact that first of all he's very athletic. He's got speed, he's got twitch, he's got quickness, he's got route running ability. But the son of a bitch is competitive, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Balls in the air. He's gonna go get it, and he's strong.
Yeah.
And I think that again, where do you take that in the draft? It's tough to figure out because there's so many, like I said, so many receivers in the draft each year nowadays. But he's unique, and he proved it this year. He's very unique. He's going to be a good player for a long time.
Right, but Scott, so T. Higgins, the two guys you're talking about, Godwin and Higgins, right?
Yep.
Not first-round picks. T. Higgins, I think, was a second.
Correct.
Chris Godwin was a – so the question is, what do you do? I mean, you sit there and wait for the second, third round to get them?
Well, the thing about it is there's always a philosophy going in the draft. Always, and you got your coaches fighting for certain guys. You got your OC fighting for certain guys. You got your head coach fighting for certain guys. But you can't panic, not when there's that much depth. Now, if you're all on the same page, then you go get the son of a bitch right away. Grab him, because he's going to make your team better from the get-go.
Scott, when you watch T. Higgins on film, the question that I'm curious of as a fan is like, he's playing on the same field as Jamar Chase, a legit number one.
Sure.
When T. Higgins goes to the Broncos or anywhere else as trying to be paid like a legit number one, when he goes up against number one corners, is he still going to be number one?
Yes.
Or is he
just
really good
yeah.
number
He's,
two?
I don't think he'll ever be a great number one, but with his size, his catch radius, his athleticism, and the fact that he's a no-nonsense football player, he's going to be your guy.
But
isn't it your guy?
Scott Casey? That's sort of like Casey. I mean, he plays next to probably the best D tackle in football, right?
Correct.
Correct.
That makes it a lot better for Casey because
It does.
Guaranteed Casey ain't going to see a double team.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, though, if you're a good football player, it doesn't matter. They could double you, they can single you, it doesn't matter. You're gonna make plays, And as a D lineman, it's different than wide receiver. Wide receiver, you can cloud them, you can over the top them, whatever you want to do. But the thing about it is, not only will it be better for T from the standpoint of helping his team out, but T's still going to make plays. He's still going to make plays. He's a good football player.
Okay, because if you're an organization here, Scott, and you got to probably give up some draft capital, pay a lot of money to get T. Higgins Peter was saying around 30 million. What's the cost to go get Chris Godwin right now? What's he getting after coming off an ankle injury?
You got to look at
what's
Godwin's
his
contract
market look like?
too. So Godwin's under contract right now. And so
Correct.
let me just call it up on the Players Association site. So Godwin's under contract for looks like he's got a void. He might be a free agent.
I've heard
I'm showing he's a free agent.
Yeah.
So
Because the number, what's the number then to go get Chris? Like a guy off an injury, and we're not even sure if he'll be ready for week one.
So what happens is, is that when you have a player that's injured, teams are allowed to bring players in, for physicals, but that's a physical on March 14th. And so the question is, how injured is he? Where does he sit on 14th? You can't work him out. You can't run him. You can just X-ray him and MRI him. And so, when you look at what, Godwin, I think he had what was a knee, right?
Ankle. Dislocated ankle.
Yeah, dislocated ankle. That's something that X-ray is going to look fine. But then when you put him on the field, is he the same Chris Godwin? And is it going to be March? Is it going to be May? Is it going to be June? Is it going to be all that stuff? So Casey, having gone through the season with the Giants,
Yep.
it's interesting how, I was talking to a GM who said that right now everybody's 0-0. Everybody just turns the page and we're moving forward to 2025.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what type of season you had. I think if you're like a team that got to the playoffs, won a playoff game, or even got deep into the playoffs, you use that as momentum for the next year. It's kind of like college, right? When you win a bowl game, a lot of coaches look at it as like the first game of the next season. You got to carry that momentum with you to the next season, and it makes the off season. Obviously, it makes the off season. If you had a successful year the year before, it makes the off season a little bit more enjoyable and better. But you also, if you didn't have a good year, you got to use that as motivation as well. It's with us as the Giants, obviously we didn't have a great year, but I think the fact that we didn't have a great year makes everyone more hungry. At least that's the feeling I'm getting in our building. It's not necessarily a feeling of we're screwed. It's like let's go out and get it. We're close and we have obviously good players in great positions. So what's stopping us? Let's figure it out. This is what the off season's for, to learn and move on, but also learn from what we did last year and carry it over for this year.
Speaking of like that off-season time, Scott, for those teams celebrating, you've gone through a number of Super Bowl parades. What was you were mentioning before we started recording? There was an interesting one there with Green Bay. Your time there.
It was awful. It was pathetic. You know, and all the fans, don't get me wrong, Green Bay, the whole town came out for it. But it was 3 hours on a bus with no windows. It was sub-zero, and then you get to the stadium, and it was the poor players had to stand outside on the field and talk to all the fans. And the whole place was packed. It was, I mean, the Lambeau Field was full. So I had a buddy of mine, good friend of mine named John, who Peter knows very well. We got a 12-pack and went through the suites. Like, them poor guys were down there, and they were freezing. Holmgren, it was miserable, and he was pissed, you know, but he had to do it, you know, because it's a Super Bowl parade or whatever you want to call it. And it was freezing in Green Bay. I mean, it was pathetic. I mean, dogs weren't allowed outside. And all these people, in 95% of the people that were in the stands or on the streets were drinking. They said there was more alcohol consumed that day than gasoline in the town. It was outrageous, but still, it's a great celebration. But I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. I'm like, wow, we're gonna freeze to death. It's, you know, and big guys.
That's the cost. That's the cost of success.
Yeah, well worth it.
Sometimes people die in wars. It's the deal.
I think some people died that night. I saw a guy going down the stairs, and it was a younger guy, and it was, you know, snow everywhere, ice everywhere, and he started going down at Lambeau Field, going down the stairs, and he got out of control. So he ended up starting to run. I saw him. He hit his collarbone. I guarantee he broke it on the side of a bench, one of the seats on the stairs, and he flipped around 2 times. Like, he was too drunk to understand what he just did. He seriously broke his collarbone. I guarantee it.
That's what makes the NFL great. Is all these fans are so passionate about it.
100%.
I mean, Casey's spending this whole spring either working out or giving back to schools, or, you know, it's fantastic.
That's what I was curious, Casey, what your days look like now as the off season hits. Like what's your workout schedule look like? How are you training? What's that look like for a guy now going in the off season?
Yeah. So luckily, just from where I'm living, the facilities I have access to, I'm actually training at Syracuse University. So it's 4 days a week, and then 1 day on the weekend I'm doing more position work. So you know, luckily the trainer I go to is busy till about noon. So I wake up, get to eat breakfast, get good breakfast, go get trained from like 12 o'clock. We usually do like 3-hour sessions. So 12 o'clock to around, you know, 2, maybe even 3, 12 to 3. And then, you know, after that, it's pretty much a chill rest of the day, but it's 4 times a week. And on Sundays, I usually at night go over to because on Sunday night usually no teams using their facilities, so I can have the whole building to myself and use like their sleds and stuff like that. So it's pretty relaxing in terms of like mentally, you get to ease your mind a little bit, but physically you're working just as hard to get ready to make gains for the next season and continue to stay on top of everything.
Let me ask you this, Casey, real quick, because I know a lot of agents and trainers are different. Do they do a diet for you and all that stuff?
Yeah. I mean, at least a lot of agents provide you with a trainer and have a trainer they recommend. Yeah. And they would definitely do that. My trainer does a diet with it. At least we sit down and we talk about it every day. So yeah, I mean, depending on what your agent provides and what trainer you're using, yeah, they can go do a diet plan with you.
So what happened like with Casey last year when he was out here?
Yeah,
they were that's when you wanted them to learn the system, Scott.
Yeah,
learn nutrition, during that's the pre-combine, that type of stuff. Go
Yeah.
through with nutrition and meal plans so that they can take not just, how to get their, get faster, but how to get the body in shape.
Yeah. Last year was kind of like my rookie year in pre-draft was basically how to NFL 101. You know what I mean? How to train every year, obviously we were focused on combine stuff too, but like how to manage off season, how to, have an elite diet when there's a lot of the responsibilities of being a pro football player are put on you, especially in the NFL, where like in college, there's someone handing you a shake every day. There's food being made for you. Well, that responsibility is on you now, and you still have to be a professional about it. So last year was really learning how to do all that, learning all the metrics behind it, and what's good for you, what's not good for you. You usually have a good sense of that going through college, but yeah, that's kind of what last year was about. And then this year is, you're by yourself. You do what you have to do.
What's been the biggest surprise in this shit? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, let me ask you this, Casey. Okay, so I get the physical stuff. I understand.
Yeah.
I get the diet stuff. What else they teach you? I mean, financially.
Yeah.
NFL
So
life.
the NFL does a lot of rookie development meetings they're mandatory anyway. So throughout your summer, when you get to whatever team you are signed with, especially as a rookie, you are in meetings pretty much every day, at least one 30-minute meeting every day about anything from financial responsibility to about social media, how to manage social media, to what to do if you ever get yourself in trouble versus all different types of stuff. So they cover a lot of that your first summer in the league. The NFL team and the NFL does itself. It's actually required. So you get a lot of that then. But after your rookie year, you kind of have the hang of everything, and they remind you of stuff once in a while. But it's on you at that point if you mess it up.
Well, as I try to tell the NFL all the time, just because you schedule a meeting, especially during the season, a lot of times if there's no grade or whatever in the meeting, the players look at that. Well, there's a half-hour nap time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
depending on the type of person you are, like you could take those meetings serious or you can't. I mean, if you know what I mean, if they tell you in person not to do something and you do it, that's on you at that point. But that's just part of being a pro,
Did you learn quite a bit from that or no?
I would say so. Yeah. No, especially in terms of like financial advising and stuff like that, like just what other guys do. There was a lot of questions I had just on basically how does the payment system work? Like what do financial advisors do for you? What services do they provide? And just other things too, like especially in New York, how to manage New York media. So yeah, I mean, I definitely did learn stuff from that. I thought it was how I looked at it was mandatory. We had to be there, so might as well sit there and at least learn something. You know what I'm saying? So not everyone's going to do that, but yeah, I thought it was relatively very helpful. Yeah.
The other thing too is I think time management matters.
Yeah.
And some of the other stuff that I think these young guys realize is college, you play in 12, maybe 13 games. Shoot, when you get to 13 games in the NFL after 3 preseason, you're only at week 10.
Yep.
You still got 6 more.
It's more.
And then if you're successful, maybe another 4.
Yep.
So it's almost a double season for these guys. And then the other thing, you take a guy like Casey. So when he played at Oregon last year, he started basically training. Let's say training camp was end of July. He went right through to Oregon, right through the bowl game, right here to training, right straight into All-Star games, straight into pro day, straight into the draft, straight into OTA, straight into rookie camp. And next thing you know, we're here. So these rookies really have been going on the treadmill for 18 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I went straight to Hawaii right after the season and sat me on a beach and enjoyed it.
Good for you. Good for you.
But yeah, no, that's something that we were told is like this rookie year is going to feel like the longest season of your life, which it did, but it also, when you're having fun, time flies too. So, body wise, it just was, you got to keep yourself available, and it's a little harder when you're playing that many games, but Yeah, it was a long season, but this off season is also the longest time where nothing is required by the team that we've probably gotten since we've been in college. Like in college, you don't get 4 months off. You know what I'm saying? And, obviously, if you're in the playoffs, you get a little bit less time. But this is the first time I've never had a winter conditioning program, or you know what I mean. Like usually, you're on campus in college, they have you there. This is all on yourself, and this is you get a lot of free time to do whatever you want, which is a great thing if you can manage it. If you're going out and not training like you should, and it could come back and bite you in the ass. But yeah, no, I mean they tell you when the season's over, go out, go somewhere, sit down, relax, unplug. But then when the time comes, make sure you plug back in and you start working because there's always time to. Always get better. And if you're anything like my mindset, like I just can't help when I'm on vacation, I just can't help but think all the other people who are training and I'm not. So it's tough to do sometimes, but it definitely was nice to unplug for a little bit.
What's been your biggest surprise difference between jumping from college to the NFL?
Honestly, it's a couple. Obviously, I mean, the most cliche answer would just be the speed of the game. Everyone's good at what they do. Everyone's professional. The biggest surprise for me, though, and this might be from team to team, and I think coming from Oregon where our workload was a lot, I think that might have skewed it too. But honestly, how much less physically demanding practices are, and just the whole season are. I think it's to a point they're protecting their players, their assets. I know in college, though, like it was Dan Lanning's theory just to go pedal to the metal all week, all day long. We had 4 padded practices a week, and we just grinded. That's just how it was, but no one questioned it because we were winning. So, but yeah, I thought it was a little different going into a practice. And instead of getting 30 reps, you might there's 30 total team reps. You know what I'm saying? So it's that was the biggest surprise for me was how much less physically demanding. Obviously mentally it's you still the same. It's still football. You still got to study. So that stayed the same. But yeah, I would say the physically demanding part.
And Casey, you talk about the speed of the game. I like to talk about how quickly can players assimilate the speed of the game and slow it down in their head.
Yeah.
So sort of the inverse to that. I mean, yes, everything's going fast, but how do you get that game to slow down your head? Like, Tom Brady goes out there when, he'd be out there like, wow, everything looked like totally, like Wayne Gretzky, totally different speed.
Yeah. Reps, the more reps you get, the better you're going to be. Every coach now, like you hear coaches say it all the time, the game's starting to slow down into them. And that's usually a very good sign. I think the only way to get live bullet is to get live bullet reps. And, some guys might be able to sit in a classroom and, fully be able to put their head in the game and be able to do it like that. I know a lot of, for me, what it came down to was just getting reps, getting live bullets, adapting to, on the fly when that happened, which was fun, which is cool. But yeah, I think the game starts slowing down when you do a significant amount of reps and you're able to, you do a lot of studying and what's going to happen before it happens, and you can react, or you can read and react to what's in front of you.
So you hear quarterbacks doing more reps with the VR headsets and things like that. Is there anything like that on the defensive side of the ball where you can use the VR headsets?
I wouldn't say anything, any like media. Like, I mean, I don't know. I've never seen anything. But the great thing about the hard part about being a quarterback and like learning how to like read coverages, like you could do that with an AI. The best thing about being a D lineman is you can do block recognition and reaction with just one partner. You know what I mean? Okay. It's easier to simulate a drill and put yourself in a situation being a D lineman. Sometimes it's hard to get someone to put pads on and go do some block destruction drills with you, but at least you can do read and react or block recognition and reaction drills. I've never seen any D-line or O-line. I don't know what's out there in terms of technology, but I mean I'm always cool with just getting a partner, having them do a reach block, having them do a cutout, base block.
Hey Casey, if you ever come to Denver, I'll get some pads on. I'm like,
we do some of that.
Yeah,
all right.
I don't know how to block. I've never played football in my life outside of flag football, but if you show me a few things,
The NFL experience
behind me, so when you knock me over, I got something soft to land on.
Yeah.
Well, if Scott there filming it on his phone, as a 8-year-old probably be over half the camera, but we'll get some of it out there.
Rob, he would destroy you in a second.
Oh, I 100% believe that. But you know what?
We'd have fun doing it though.
Yeah, like Peter will have me sign a waiver.
All right. At least
Hell
I have a
no.
lawyer.
We're gonna do a will for you.
That's right.
It won't be a waiver. It'll be a will. Hey, Casey, Colgate 13, Albany 4.
Yeah, I gotta get on. I gotta go. I gotta watch that game later on.
And then,
I've been watching a lot of these hockey games. You watch these Four Nations face-off games.
Unbelievable hockey.
Yeah, this is great, and they're going hard. Like I thought for sure they would treat this as a little bit of it's like an all-star type of thing, but they're bodying each other. It's really good hockey.
And the Kachuk brothers last night were freaking dominant.
Did you watch the Sweden-Canadian game? That was an unbelievable game. That was fun.
Canada goes up, Sweden comes back.
Yeah,
but they're not playing like an all-star game. These guys are
no. This is they're fighting. It makes a difference when you're playing for your country. These guys don't take that as a joke.
Hey, let me ask you this, Peter, because I was going to ask you last night about it. Is this the best of the best in the United States, or is it?
Oh yeah, this is the Olympic teams.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, these are You have Connor McDavid playing with Sidney Crosby, like that's sick. You know what I mean? Like you don't see that ever.
Yeah.
And Nathan McKinnon, you have a line.
Yeah, McKinnon from
It would be like if the NFL had an all-star game and you put a defensive line of
Dexter with Chris Jones and with
Myles Garrett.
It would be insane.
Yeah, going against the Canadians.
Yeah.
So we're not playing around.
No.
We're getting after it.
Yeah.
Saturday night it's USA Canada.
Cool.
Definitely.
And what's cool to me is that they might be on the same team in the NHL, but like when they play each other, they'll go for each other's throats. Like
I love it.
There was a hit
it definitely causes some awkward conversations afterwards. But what you hate, what I was shocked at was just the amount of physicality they were playing with. Like they were crushing each other. There was a play where McDavid, I don't know who he gave it to. He gave someone a business, and the guy just cross-checked him straight in the chest and knocked him on his ass. It was like, holy, these guys are playing.
There was a play last night that I think it was Kachuk hit. They got into a really tough tussle right by the bench, and turned out they were both their teammates in the NHL.
Yeah, and they'll go back, but they'll go back and laugh about that. But at the
they were about to throw hands.
They were going.
They were about to throw hands.
If you're an American hockey player and you're playing against anyone with a Canadian jersey, you're not friends for that game. I can tell you that.
Casey, did you see who Cortland State just hired as their new football coach?
The guy from
Franklin and Marshall, my school.
Marshall. Yeah. What do you think about him?
They love him there.
Yeah. I don't know.
Stealing my coach.
Yeah.
All right. So with that being said, to me, the offseason, the thing about the offseason in the NFL that's great is it keeps, we're not going to play a game until September, whatever, 8th. But this keeps the NFL in the press every day of the week. For the last 3 weeks, we've been having coaching hires. And then all of a sudden, then the next thing, now we're going to Aaron Rodgers and Raheem Mostert just got released today. We're going to do that. Then we're going to go right to the combine, and there'll be all those interviews at the combine. Then we have free agency. So the NFL has really found a way to stay in the media mainstream 12 months a year.
Money.
Bottom line.
Hey guys, it is Valentine's today. We love the NFL. We love it. It's like they do. Like you're talking about the Four Nations tournament. We got the NBA All-Star weekend. What's your favorite sport All-Star or weekend event? Like, would you like the NFL more? Do you like how the NBA does it? Do you like the Four Nations with the NHL now? What's the top event in your guys' mind?
I think the Four Nations thing has gone great so far. I mean, this is really the first time they've done something like this. But yeah, I think it's unbelievable. I think the Pro Bowl and the whole that's kind of just I think the Pro Bowl is kind of not gone downhill because the honor is still amazing. Like, it's still amazing to be a Pro Bowler, but I mean they just play games now. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily It's not. It's just to show up and say hello, kiss some babies, and that type of thing. Guys don't want to get hurt, which I totally understand. But I think the four nations face off. This is pretty cool. This is going to be like there. At least if you follow hockey, like the games that I remember as a kid was like the 2010 Olympic Games when in Vancouver when USA played Canada. Canada won in overtime. Like this is a type of event that brings countries. That kind of bring country together a little bit, and it makes you have a little bit of pride in where you're from, and especially, I mean, USA Hockey is known to do that. People love bodies flying around ice, and guys with pads on crushing each other. So I think this is a really cool event. I really hope they open it up a little bit more than just 4 teams. I would love to see an international tournament every year, but yeah, I think it's cool to see pros on their own country's teams. Banging it out.
So they wanted to go, Casey. They did want to go 6 teams.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. It's all about logistics, TV.
Yeah.
This is like the All-Star week, so you have 1 week to do it. So you can't just take 2 weeks off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they were going to add the Czech Republic and of course Russia. But now Russia, going to war and stuff, they couldn't add the Russians.
Yeah. So Russians are still under like sanctions, but they can't even.
Right. No international play. So that precluded them from bringing the Czech Republic, who would have been, the other team. Germany just doesn't compete at that level. Yeah. So you have 6 really nations. If you were thinking about football, Canada could field a team, but we could field 31 teams.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. And I think hockey's a good sport because hockey is it's so international. It's like soccer. You're going to find teams everywhere. So.
Well, yeah. And I think so if you were to have, that's what the World Cup is. These guys all play for their teams or whatever. And then all of a sudden they come together for the World Cup. Now the Olympics in soccer is interesting because it's a U23 tournament or whatever. So it's just the young guns.
Yeah.
And then of course, the Olympic basketball.
Yeah. See, basketball is just so tough because it's not always consistent, but the Americans should, on paper, always dominate that.
You remember, Casey, you remember 1972 when the Russians beat the Americans in Munich, if you remember, on a very controversial call, I recall that.
I can't say I recall that because I probably
Peter
wasn't even thought about that.
That's a long time ago.
1972, no, I don't think I was around then, but
I don't even know if I was a thought in 72.
Yeah.
Peter was 25 at the time.
It definitely would be better for basketball if it was a competitive.
Yeah.
I think it was Jokic against the United States last year. That made it interesting.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But it was Jokic against the United States, and he almost pulled it off.
He did
pull it off. You guys watching much of the Nuggets here their 9-game winning streak?
Oh yeah. They're rolling.
So, I know.
Murray. If
Murray
Murray would be more consistent, he'd be a superstar. He's just so inconsistent. But when he's on now, I showed the other night, he scored 40-some, right?
Yeah, he had 50. He had 55.
Something, yeah.
So,
but he's just so inconsistent. But you got that center. He blows my mind. His vertical is 1 inch. The son of a gun can play some ball, man.
It's crazy what they can do. What do you guys watch? Being a basketball guy, I'm a nerd for the skills competition. I don't care for the dunk competition much, but I do love the 3-point.
Yeah, it's all cool stuff. Definitely cool stuff.
I mean, it's.
I saw some, when Larry Bird was in the 3-point contest, and he just walked in the locker room and basically said, "Okay, who's going to be second place?"
Yeah.
Who's going to be second place?
He didn't even take his warm up off.
And he would just go out there and he just knocking them down. Yeah, and he talked smack, and some of the stories that you hear about Larry when he would talk smack, but he covered it up now. All right, so Casey, your first year in the league, who out there who talked the most smack?
Talked the most smack. Well, I know Dex had talked a lot, but he had the right to. He backs it up. I'm trying to think who.
I mean, is there a lot of smack?
I'm not a big smack talker, so I'm not really focusing on it. But I don't even know. I think our Kayvon talks a lot. Kayvon likes to talk. I don't know if you saw that, but he was on Twitter with what's his name, the old Cowboys receiver.
Michael Irvin.
Michael Irvin. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sucks when young guys like him are saying old Cowboy receiver that they're our age. Like, no, they're not old, Casey. They're middle aged, right? So Jokic is averaging a triple double. That's pretty good, right?
It's
Yeah,
phenomenal.
he should stick with
No,
his
he was
ball.
KT was Twitter fighting with Des Bryant.
That's even worse that you say that he's an old receiver.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Older than me.
Casey, have some respect for your elders.
And I said older than me.
Yeah.
Hey, Casey, let me answer this. Who was the biggest badass you went against this year on the O-line?
Biggest badass. Linderbaum from the
Really?
Ravens was pretty good. He just does a good job.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, yeah, he was good. I mean, obviously the Eagles have a hell of an O-line, but yeah, I think the Eagles just as a unit, they're badass. They do work and they move people. I think there's a reason why they won the Super Bowl the way they did.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Did you feel the game slowing down in your head as the season went on?
Definitely, 100%. Yeah.
So like in training camp or the first exhibition game, you're like, wow, if I could just make sure I do my assignments and hit the guy in front of me. But then by week 15, 16, you're like, all right,
You
that went
understand,
motion, so
yeah.
this is coming here, and
You understand backfield sets and what tendencies and stuff like that. And if unfortunately being a rookie and being in my spot, like you can get caught up on, I got to make a play they got to make a play so I can keep playing, blah blah blah. But if you just relax, the game can slow down just by mentally calming yourself down. It's not just knowing backfield sets and stuff. It's being comfortable in the uncomfortable. So.
Wait on Peter.
Hey, Tony, welcome to the Field to the Deal podcast. 12 years a slave. Tell us about it.
no, I want to hear. So this is Anthony Katagas.
About a movie that was shot. I don't know how many years ago. Is that what we're talking about? How you guys doing?
I think he wants to talk about the Jets, Rob.
Oh, he wants to talk about the Jets?
So this is Anthony Katagas, who's our goalie on our summer league team in lacrosse, who happens to dabble in movies. But he's like the expert on what the hell is wrong with the Jets.
No. If there was an expert out there, then I think there'd be nothing wrong with the Jets. I wouldn't take it that far. I have one question for the group, and I don't know much about football. But how do you, if you're the Jets, who've been struggling with a quarterback situation for X amount of years, let the only option you have go, who threw for 25 touchdowns and 3,700 yards? And I know someone's going to try to say there was a meeting, and after the meeting, Rodgers decided to leave. And all I'm going to say is that meeting was only designed to keep Adam Rodgers if we were smart. So what happened? Because someone put up the stats the other day, and you looked up and saw 25 TDs, 3,700 yards. You went back to see how he did in Green Bay over the 5 years previously, pretty much smack in the middle. I don't know what they were expecting out of him. They got it. What's the problem, and who's throwing the ball for the Jets now?
Now, understand this, Anthony, that Scott McClone, who's on this podcast right now, is the person that did not take Aaron Rodgers. He drafted Alex Smith over Aaron Rodgers.
Oh,
Okay. That's okay.
I'll tell you this, Anthony, from my standpoint, this is Scott, by the way.
What's up, brother?
I can say this because I'm a consultant now in the NFL. I'm not under hire or affiliated with the NFL contract. The guy's an asshole. The guy's a bad teammate.
Scott, you got to stop.
The guy got.
You got to get off the fence. You got to get off the fence and tell us what you think.
The guy got the GM fired. The guy got the head coach fired during the season, all because of his antics. And he wanted his guys to come in, which he brought them in. But the guy, why do you think he's bouncing around now? And I'm not so sure there's a team that's out there that's going to sign him. I understand there's a lot of quarterback needed teams, but the guy's not a good person.
Well, that
From the
goes.
standpoint
Listen,
of a teammate.
that goes a long way, and that is
100%.
100%. And that is 100% an acceptable situation. But I would just say we knew all that.
Yeah, but see what he did to the team? He made the team
Yeah.
worse, not better.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if that's the case, let's go on to my second question. What's going to go on? What's going to go on at that position for the Jets? And I tell you why I'm a little worked up. We have and had for the last couple of years some talent, and not just in one or two positions like we've had over the last 20 years. A lot of those X's and O's were filled up, as you know, with talented people. And we've obviously had a balancing issue and some stuff going on, but it's not it really can't go down as the response can't be, it's a rebuilding year. We've got players that can ball. So what's the game plan? I mean, okay, we got rid of the rotten apple. What's the game plan?
I guarantee this next year you'll be better. I don't know who your quarterback's going to be. You'll figure it out. But I can guarantee you with him outside the building and not around practices and off season when he's going to do his little sleepovers, wherever he does, it will change the mindset of the team a lot. And I'm telling you, partner, inside that locker room, in case he can tell you 100%, it's very important. I mean, you got to be on the same page. I mean, you got to understand 100% locked in, going, because it's a bitch of a year. You're playing 17 games now. It's going to be 18 before you know it. And you got to be on the same page. You know, you're going to have good days and bad days, but you still got to respect each other. And in that building, I don't think there's respect for supposedly the leader. You know, Aaron Rodgers, and give him credit. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Congratulations. He's had a hell of a career. But still, if you're not a real good team and you're trying to get through it, you need guys to stay together. You need to fight. Every freaking day you need to fight.
Anthony, let me ask you this. All right. So in your world, it's a different entertainment world. So we're in football and everybody talks about culture, and building a team and getting everybody on the same page. Is that important when you're doing a movie? That yes, you have these stars, but
Here, you're right here. Yeah.
is that important when you're doing a movie, that culture and stuff?
Yeah, of course. I mean, listen, everybody's coming from different parts and different walks of life, and I think part of whatever industry or whatever sport we're playing, we all have to be adaptive and open to, how everybody feels, and everyone feels a certain sense of respect. And once you're checking all the obvious boxes so we can all function properly as healthy humans, yes, it's very important, and more times than none, we're dealing with stuff like that. But from where I stand, if you've got a bad apple, unlike sports where you may be committed for 4 years or 3 years or for as long as it takes, usually when you make a film, it kind of just goes down for 6 months, a year. You got to release the movie. Everyone's got to be rowing the boat in the same direction, and then you're moving on. So if you're not really down with the experience, you don't have to re-up the experience. It's a little bit more complicated probably in a structure with sports contracts.
But can one bad apple, like Scott's talking about, and Scott jumped off the fence here and really went out on a limb and said what maybe a lot of people are thinking. Can one bad apple ruin like the mojo on the set?
Yeah, it does, but it's very different because the mojo on the set. We win. We win. We can win by getting what we need creatively and even financially. By trying over and over again, right? You got take one, you got take 100, you got the next.
Get it right. It's not that way in sports, right? Like there's, the execution has got to be pretty much on point. You can recover from a mistake or two, but you can't recover from something that's probably going to be present with you for as long as something like we just discussed is. So I think it's different, but yeah, the same thing. You don't want to have bad apples, but you got to deal with them. That's what you got to do.
Hey, Tony, this is Rob here. As you're thinking of a quarterback for the Jets and recovering from a bad apple, when we think of unrestricted free agents in the quarterback class this year, what do you think of Sam Darnold coming back to the Jets?
Listen, obviously Sam Darnold is a talented football player. I mean, where he played, what he did, and then what went down this year. I don't think things like that don't make sense, you know. But I don't. There was an issue, and I don't pretend to remember what the challenges and the struggles were with Sam. I think it was probably in the era where we had no offensive line and didn't quite have the type of players that we had. I mean, I don't hate the idea of people who can be successful getting second chances and or returning to the scenes of the crimes. I don't fundamentally have an issue with that. Is that what we're looking at? I mean, it's kind of amazing when you look at the QBs that the Jets had an option of grabbing. That's an easier thing to say, Monday morning quarterback style, but the ones that were actually playing for them and then went on to have different careers. That's also probably part of sports. It's hard when you're young to, especially quarterback, I would imagine, to adapt to the league. What do you guys think about Sam Darnold coming back?
I think Sam Darnold would actually absolutely be crazy to leave Minnesota. Just like it hurt Kirk Cousins, to leave there. That they got it going on there, and Darnold should not take any risks with his career. Stay with that coach as long as they'll have you. Kevin O'Connell is right now the quarterback whisperer. Do not leave there. He's out of his mind. If someone offers you $40 million and the Vikings are offering 25, take the 25. Do not take any chances of reverting back to pre-Sam Darnold.
Peter, you're so full of shit. As being an agent, you're taking the 40 in a second.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. That's right. And the only thing that he really has to worry about is just the media cycle in New York is vicious, right? So even if it's going just fine, it could be going any way that the Post or whomever wants to print it, and then people get mental real fast. But like in a different market, maybe what you meant to say, Peter, he's better off in a different market than New York, but he ain't better off taking 40 over 25.
I'm
telling you, I disagree.
You're full of it, dude.
No, he's not. Because you don't.
Well, the thing about it, and I've never been in the New York market. I've never worked for the Giants or the Jets, whatever. But I mean, sometimes there's certain personalities that fit in certain places. And I know being in Green Bay for a long time, I know Minnesota, the same type of people. It's a different environment, and guys feel more comfortable, and guys can be who they want to be. I think there's some guys that just don't fit in New York. I mean, it's plain and simple, and they can't handle the criticism. The fans are coming out after one preseason game saying, this guy's awful. Where you're in Minnesota, like, he shows some good things. So, I mean, to each their own. I think Darnold's going to get some money, and he earned it this year. Is he the answer? Probably not, but he's good enough to get you to the playoffs.
Hey, Scott, have you ever taken a guy that like you parted with, and maybe not as high profile clearly as a quarterback, but then had success somewhere else, and you brought back with open arms?
I never have. Never a player that I cut or let go or retired, wanted to come back. I've never done that. Never before, ever.
But would that be possible? I mean, can you bring that guy back into the building? You got the knucklehead Jet fans like Anthony, and they'll love him in the first bad game.
Well, I have to give you a little correction, not to interrupt you, my friend Peter, but Anthony's just a football fan, and he was properly on record that when Saquon went to the Giants, he was just going to start watching that kid out of Penn State because that was the appropriate thing to do. And I have been religiously watching him, so I become a his fan in the New York metropolitan area because it's hard to be a Jets fan with the way they've been carrying on. And I hate to say it, but it's just difficult. So let's get the nomenclature right. Tagas is a football fan, and he's got his eyes on the Jets somewhat. the Bills, though, is really interesting to me too. I mean,
Hey, I can tell you.
Hey,
I can tell you this.
Tony, I can
Anthony,
appreciate having multiple teams.
hey, hey, Anthony. In 1965, my father was a rookie, and so was Joe Namath. My dad came in second for Rookie of the Year. He got one vote, and Joe got the rest of them.
I like that. I like that. But that's the best story ever. I mean, and that's a football. But you know what? We're talking about players right now. Your dad, Joe. It's like it's nice. It's nice to want to watch players. And coaches. I like to watch Andy Reid a lot. I think he's a genius. He's most prepared. He's super calm. It's just like it's nice to watch him, no matter how tight it gets or how much time's on that clock. He immediately knows and got his team prepared to do what they need to do. At least the games I've tuned in on. I mean, I don't watch as much as all of you do. But
the thing is, Anthony, too, is I worked with him at Green Bay when I first started in the NFL, and he's a better person than he is coach, and he's a damn good coach.
Well, so when you started working with him, Scott, when you started working with him in Green Bay, did you see that he had these qualities?
Well, I was young. I was 24 when I started with Green Bay. He was the assistant O-line coach, and it was Holmgren's buddy from BYU. As a matter of fact, I think he coached him at BYU or something. But they were partners. But then he went from assistant O-line coach to O-line coach to tight end coach to quarterback coach. And I never forget Ron Wolf. I think I've already told you guys this before, but Ron Wolf, who was the general manager of the Green Bay, when Holmgren left, Andy wanted the job. Andy interviewed for the head job. And then Mike Sherman came in and had a 3-ring notebook of like 500 pages of every day in the offseason, every day during the season, what they're going to do. And Ron said the biggest mistake he ever made was the fact that he didn't hire Andy Reid. Biggest mistake. And so Andy went to Philly, of course, had success and lost in the championship games, but still had a lot of success. And then, of course, went to KC and has dominated. But I'm just telling you this, Anthony, he's a better person than he is a coach. And like I said, he's a really, really good coach. He's just a good guy. And he's been through a lot in his life now with his family and stuff. And the son of a gun sung in there and kept rolling.
Well, that goes a little bit to what you were saying about getting rid of, the bad apples, because it shows that you keep a good person around, even if they're not the
Correct.
top. Winning happens. And we all know that's important. But and look, Andy's one of them. Look, when I was a serious Jets fan, we can count on both fingers. At least 10 coaches have gone by since the era of the old man coach that the Jets could have had for multiple times, and it's just amazing for me to see Woody and who he's chosen over the years, not him himself, but the organization. It's just a little bit, mind-boggling. And Todd Bowles and Herm at times, and I have a lot of respect for the effort, a lot of the people, but the coaches that were let go over the years from, 90 something until, Andy Reid, let's just say. I can't think of one like him. I guess Bill, but Bill's old, and Bill's got a bunch of baggage himself. Our organization just refused to entertain any of them. Or you may all say those people were never coming to New York. What's your thoughts on that? 'Cause you had Bill Cowher, you had Andy Reid, you had so many people that could have come to the Jets, or the Jets could have pursued.
Well, I'm not so sure they didn't pursue him,
Yeah.
And the thing about it, it's not a bad job. It's really not. I mean, you take on a lot of criticism, but that's football. If you're in football, you're a tough son of a bitch. You better be able to take criticism, because you're going to get it no matter what. It's a long season,
Right, but I think that the point is that, if you are a football player, coach, or whatever, do you want to go to the Jets right now? And that's clearly what people have to look at is, okay, is this really a good job? Because, if you don't make it there, a lot of the people that haven't made it there don't come back. I mean, we call that the reverse car wash, Anthony. you go in clean and you come out dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I get that.
but the thing is, Peter, they have a damn good defense. They got players and young
Oh, yeah.
players. I mean, it's a good job. It's just you got to have the mentality and the makeup to be able to handle it. Robert Saleh, I worked out with him for 6 months 1 year. When I was in Seattle with him, and he's a quality control for defense. Great dude, tough son of a bitch. I mean, everything about him A+. Now he's not an offensive minded guy; he's a defensive minded guy, but A+. I mean, and I think Anthony could probably tell you this. I mean, once you get to know him or see him enough, like in press conferences and that kind of stuff, he's a really good guy. I mean, he's a family guy. He's a loyal guy. He's an honest guy. He's trustworthy. And he works his tail off. For some reason, there's just a funk there, and not knocking him because I already did, but I am knocking him. Aaron Rodgers. He changed the whole makeup. I mean, he got them both fired. Him and the the GM. And as you're well aware, Peter, the GM's a good GM.
Oh, yeah.
And then they ran him because they had to. And now they're running him. And it's just.
All right,
I think like what Anthony was saying, the ownership's got to figure it out. They have to figure it out. You got to make the right hire and go get the right guy. They got money. Go pay them.
Hey,
Well, that's what,
hey guys, we got to wrap this up here as we're past 1 o'clock here. But Tony, I want to ask one clarifying question. Are you a Knicks fan as well?
yeah, I am a Knicks fan for basketball, and I am enjoying that. I'm a Rangers fan. Haven't deviated from either of them. Been enjoying that. But I do want to say something real quick. It is hard to play in New York because knucklehead fans like me remember. You're going to say Salah's a great guy. You know what I remember? I remember 3 losses and things that I don't know who would do if they were the coach. With 24 seconds left a couple years ago, they punted to Bill Belichick. The only thing that kept them from winning that game was exactly what happened. They returned punt return. Then later that season, mismanaged the clock with 3 minutes left, and then finally against Minnesota to pull the upset off, ran the ball 7 times inside the 5 instead of throwing once to the number 2 tight end or their number 1 receiver. It's just, you don't survive that stuff in New York. So yeah, Adam Rodgers probably kicked them, ruined the machine, but the media is very, very difficult in New York. Very, very difficult. And that was a season where 3 wins would have put you into the playoffs for the first time in God knows how many games. And those years, and those are some winnable games.
But just here, though, the thing about the New York fans, and you just heard it, Anthony, right there, driving to probably some important meeting, rattles off 3 plays from the last 2 or 3 years with time, distance, down and distance, all that stuff. You're not just dealing with any fans in New York. You're dealing with passionate, intelligent fans.
Well, it's just fun. It is not in fact. It's haunting, dude. It's haunting. So you remember if you get that close against the Vikings and you're about to beat Bill, you remember exactly what happened and what went wrong because your buddies call you up from Massachusetts and rub it in. Even when you're not playing the Patriots, they rub it in. So it is what it is. But thanks, guys. This was fun. It really was.
Thank you, Anthony. Love your football knowledge.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Hey guys, it's been fun. We'll have to do this again here real soon. We've got draft season coming up. Excited to hear what you guys think about that. So much more to talk about in the NFL world, guys. Thank you so much for your time again this week, Scott. You put your hoodie on again, so I'm assuming there's 6 more weeks of winter.
I told you I did just for you. We're good.
Yep,
Got to go out in style.
He's the groundhog. Scott's the groundhog.
Hey, Tony, we appreciate the time. Just in case it happens in the finals, I want you to know something. Go Nuggets.
All right, boys. Later.
Take care, guys.
See you guys.